There's just nothing quite like a great, soft, delicious Southern-style buttermilk biscuit. And my task is to make that, but make it keto and low carb, thanks to you guys. I did a poll on my YouTube channel and also on our private Facebook group of what y'all would like to see me make the most with my new keto flour, and overwhelmingly, it was biscuits and bready stuff. So that's what I'm gonna do today on Southern Keto. If you don't know me, my name is Victor. I've lost over 75 pounds and fixed a ton of health conditions using a ketogenic and a low carb diet. What I do is take the foods that I love to eat, and hopefully you do too, and make them keto and low carb. So let's dig right into these Southern style buttermilk biscuits right now. I've got to do a little bit of prep work first before we start these biscuits. Since they're buttermilk biscuits and buttermilk are high carb, I'm going to take some heavy cream. I'm just going to use a 1/4 cup of heavy cream. And I'm going to take a teaspoon of this raw, unfiltered apple cider vinegar. Now I've been using White House, I used to use Bragg's, and I won't take the time on this video to explain to you what's changed, but leave me a comment down there if you want me to talk about Bragg's. It was the original, but it's not the original anymore. So I'm just going to take a teaspoon of this and pour it right into this heavy cream. That is going to make our buttermilk for these biscuits. Now I'm just going to set this off to the side. The next thing I'm going to do is grab some butter out of the fridge, and I'm going to go ahead and cut it up. You want the butter to stay cold throughout this whole process to make that crumb inside the biscuits that you want. A 1/2 stick of this butter, or a 1/4 cup, however you'd rather look at it. And this is cold right out of the fridge. I'll put this back up and we're going to use that 1/2. All I'm going to do is cut this into small cubes, and I'm going to put it back in the fridge so it stays cold while we're getting everything else put together. Just realized I'm wielding this knife like Michael Myers or something. Anyway, let me cut this up. And this butter needs to stay cold because once you start working it in to the dough, it's going to make like a crumb. And that's exactly what you want. Now I'm cutting mine up pretty small. You can make them a little bigger if you want to. Should work just fine. This just makes it easier when it's small to combine it once you get done. Just make sure you kind of keep them separated so they don't stick together.
You gotta keep them separated.
Once they get back in there, let me show you what this looks like. So that's what I got with my butter, little small cubes like that. I'm gonna throw that back in the fridge and we'll get everything else together. Now, of course, we're not gonna do anything without Old Yeller. So for our next step, Old Yeller comes on the scene. And all I'm gonna do here is mix in these wet ingredients. So we've got our buttermilk. That's gonna go right in. See how that turned kind of thick and curled up just a little bit like that? Exactly what you want. Now to that, I'm gonna add a 1/3 cup of sour cream. That'll do it right there. Just make sure you get everybody in the pool there so they can all play nice together. And then the last thing I'm gonna put in there for the wet ingredients is 1 egg. So I'm just gonna crack that, put it right in there like that, and then just whisk it up proper. And then that is our liquid mix that we're gonna mix in with all these dry ingredients that I'm about to show you. Make sure you get that nice and well combined. We'll set that over to the side for just a minute. And now, before I mix together all the dry ingredients, I'm gonna go ahead and preheat my oven to 400 degrees because, of course, I forgot to do it before. And I always check that oven before I preheat it because you never know what kind of craziness could be in my oven. Sometimes I got dirty dishes. If I was shooting 2 videos in a row, there's just no telling what could be in there at any given time. So the first dry ingredient we're gonna put in is some of my keto flour. We're gonna use a 1.5 cups of this, and I like to shake it up before I use it every time just to make sure everything's well combined. We're gonna go in with a 1.5 cups of this. 1 cup and 1/2 cup. See how exact that was? And to that, I'm gonna add in a teaspoon of baking powder. We'll add that right in the mix. And then from this big bag, all we need is a 1/4 teaspoon of baking soda. So we'll throw that right in. If I just use this for cooking, this will take me years to get rid of. But we use it for all kinds of stuff. Now, unless you hate flavor, Next thing you gotta put in is some salt. I mean, salt's essential in just about anything, including your body. So a 1/4 teaspoon of that goes in. This is the Redmond's real salt, or use pink Himalayan. Make sure you use something that's not white. It's gotta have some color to it or you're missing out on all the minerals. It's been stripped and processed and nobody wants that. Then I'm going in with a teaspoon of xanthan gum. Now there's xanthan gum in this flour blend already, but we wanna make sure and get the structure right on this. So I'm going in with one more. And I meant to tell you earlier, if you don't have any of that apple cider vinegar on hand, you can use lemon juice like I do in a lot of my videos. And if you don't have fresh squeeze, and I guess that old green bottle that's been sitting in the back of your fridge for years will work just fine too. Now before we mix all this together, I'm gonna go ahead and get my baking sheet with parchment paper already ready already. And if you can see this, I have baked some cookies on this bad boy, but guess what? Don't throw it away. Flip it over like that. And you can totally use this again. You crumple it up like that and it's gonna stay put just like it needs to. Now I'm just gonna use my old flat whisk and make sure this is all real well combined together. You can use a regular whisk if you don't have one of these, but these things really get all the way down to the bottom, to all the cracks and crevices and stuff. Hey, you can even sift this stuff if you want to, but we're making a nice buttermilk crumb biscuit out of this, so I ain't too worried about that. Once you got all that pretty well combined, just go in with that cold butter. Put it right in there. Now, you can use one of those pastry cutter thingies if you got one. You could probably use a tater masher or something like that to get all this in. You know what I'm gonna use? My hands, because look how clean them things are. How about that? I'm just gonna go in, mix all this together, kind of make sure all these little cubes are separated. And then I'm gonna start mashing them in there. But I wanna make sure that we got them all apart first. Now, I'm just gonna mash them like that. You see what I'm doing? See if I can go in from the side. How about that? Just gonna mash this together. This is gonna crumb up proper. So you want all this butter to just come together real good with all this dry ingredient. And after it does, I'll show you what it looks like. Now that all that's come together, I'm just gonna take these dry ingredients with the butter. I'm just gonna dump the whole thing right in there. I know you should probably slowly combine it and all that good stuff, but hey, we'll see how this works. And you just wanna mix it up till it just comes together. You don't wanna overmix this. Try to keep it nice and crumbly, but you want it to be all well incorporated so we can make some biscuits. So see how that's coming together like a nice crumbly mixture like that? Once it kind of forms a little dough ball, they're ready to go in. We're almost there. So just make sure you scrape that spatula off because you really want all this to be well incorporated into a dough ball. And at that point, you can go in and work it with your hands a little bit if you want to. It's just like a mixer, see? I'm gonna call that pretty well combined. It should be a uniform color. Everything should come through. You'll still have little chunks of that butter in there, but you wanna work with it kind of quick and just don't overmix it. And now I'm gonna take this parchment paper lined baking sheet. I've got my 1/4 cup right here. I'm gonna give it a little tiny spray with some olive oil spray. Just kind of work that around a little bit. Good olive oil there. And then we'll just take these a 1/4 cup at a time. And don't smush them down, but just kind of get them in there like that. And then plop them right down. And you want to form these into biscuit shapes because we are working with keto flour here. And so they're not gonna do quite like the regular biscuits do if you're used to making regular standard American biscuits. We're just gonna get our equal sizes together first, and then we'll work it up just a little bit. And they're pretty much round. So we just need to get a biscuit shape out of them. So this is gonna make 8 biscuits. And now you just wanna form them just a little bit into your biscuit shape. If you want bigger biscuits, make bigger ones. These are about palm size. If you want one of those big old buttermilk biscuits, it'll work the same way. You just need to cook it a little bit longer. I'm gonna make a smaller, like a Cracker Barrel style biscuit, like they have at the Cracker Barrel. Now, if you want one of them big old biscuits like they got at Hardee's or whatever, you might wanna make 4 of these. Just adjust your cooking time a little bit. And while these are baking, I'm gonna melt down some butter, because as soon as these bad boys come out, I'm gonna put some butter right on top of them. Man, look at that. Oh yeah. Gonna be eating some good biscuits tonight. And this is what they should look like when you go to put them in the oven. And you can make them a little prettier if you want to. These are some good old Southern style rustic biscuits. So it is what it is. If you can make them pretty, make them pretty. I'm sure you'll put some pictures in my Facebook group when you do, because y'all always show me up. They always look better than what I make, but at least I know I got a good recipe. So these are gonna take their little ride into the oven, 400 degrees. I'm gonna start these about 12 minutes and I'm gonna check them and see what happens. So I flipped these biscuits halfway through, ended up going to 15 minutes, so let's take them out now. And here's what we got. Now I'm gonna be honest with you, these look more like salmon patties than they do biscuits, but hey, what are you gonna do? I could have made them a little bit prettier, maybe not have flipped them. So the other side looks like this. And if you press them a little more to make them look prettier, I think they'll come out just fine. So I'm gonna go ahead and grab some butter out of the microwave. I got that melting, I'm gonna butter these up. So I'm just gonna take my melted butter, go right over the top of these, and let's see what they look like. Well, we see what they look like, but more importantly, let's see what they taste like. Because that's what we're trying to get here, is the taste. Even if it don't look the prettiest in the world, you might not want to take it over to your neighbor's house or a party, but if you're craving some biscuits, you might want to make these to ease that craving. I'm gonna throw a little bit more butter on there, because why not? Oh man. All right, so let's just grab one of these and see what they look like. Now here's our buttermilk biscuit. You can see the steam coming off that. That's your texture right there. But the important thing is, how do they taste? We know they're ugly. We can see that. See how these bad boys taste. Tastes great. Still a little bit soft on the inside. See how it holds up to a little bit of this Planner all fruit jelly. It's gonna hold up good. Not quite as flaky as I had hoped, but taste-wise, it's all there. So if you've been craving biscuits, but you've had kind of bad luck with some of them, give these a try. Taste-wise, I think I nailed it. But as I've told you in the past, I'm not a baker. So I'm sure y'all can leave me some comments down there on how I can make them a little prettier for next time. Now, if you want a good gravy to go with these biscuits, check out this video right here. And if you want a good old Southern classic that's gonna go great alongside some biscuits, click this one.